The secret marriage license I found in the attic. We were set to walk down the aisle in exactly 10 days. The catering was paid for, the flowers were ordered, and my dress was hanging on the back of the door, looking like a literal dream. I went up to the attic to find an old blue ribbon of my grandmother's, something old and borrowed, But instead, I found a locked firebox tucked behind a stack of Julian's old college textbooks. I'm not a snooper, usually, but the key was sitting right on top. I opened it, expecting to see a birth certificate or maybe some old saved bonds. Instead, I found a marriage license, dated 2 years ago. My heart stopped. It wasn't a license for us. It was a license for Julian and me. I stared at the paper. It had our names, it had our signatures, it even had a stamp from a courthouse 3 states over, from that spontaneous road trip we took back in 2024. The room started spinning. I remember that trip. We had stayed out late drinking wine and talking about the future. Julian had taken me to this beautiful old chapel just to look around. I remember signing some guest book while I was a little tipsy. He told me it was just a tradition for the chapel's history. He didn't just marry me, he tricked me into a legal marriage without me even realizing it. I waited for him in the living room, the paper clutched in my hand. When he walked through the door, he looked so normal. He dropped his keys and reached out to hug me. "Hey babe, why the long face?" I held up the paper. His smile didn't just fade, it vanished. "You weren't supposed to find that," he whispered. "Julian, we've been married for 2 years? Why? Why would you lie about this?" He sat down, burying his face in his hands. "I was terrified you'd leave me back then. You were talking about that job in London, and I thought if we were legally bound, you'd stay. I figured we'd just have the real wedding later and nobody would ever know." I felt like I was looking at a stranger. He hadn't wanted a partner, he wanted a prisoner. He had let me spend $20,000 on a wedding for a marriage that had already happened, based on a lie. "Is the wedding still on?" he asked, actually looking hopeful. I looked at the dress hanging in the hallway. Then I looked at the man who thought love meant deception. "The wedding is off, Julian," I said, my voice cold as ice. "And as it turns out, the divorce is already 2 years overdue." I didn't stay to hear him beg. I realized then that you can't build a future on a foundation made of secrets. I'm not a bride-to-be anymore. I'm just a woman who finally woke up.